Open Screenplay is a first-of-its-kind online platform that breaks down story structure, offers proven storytelling tools, and helps you write compelling screenplays with the option of collaborating with storytellers from around the world. Like many entrepreneurs, my journey to start Open Screenplay began on an emotional level, with a desire to solve an increasingly systemic problem that I saw in the world. I believe that the crisis of meaning that plagues many of our societies today and the resulting apathy is a result of the stories that have been told to us by our cultures and by influential organizations in our societies. I also believe that you, as individuals, can help us regain the lost meaning in our lives by telling your story in the most influential and powerful storytelling medium of film and television. So, what's so important about stories? Well, I'd like to propose to you that you live in a story. In fact, you are the main character, and you see the world from a first-person perspective rested upon your shoulders. But your story has largely been written by others, and if you're like most of us out there, at times, you can feel somewhat lost in your story. I think this is part of the reason why rational thinking people like you and I are so willing to suspend our disbelief and spend hours watching fictional movies about flying superheroes or even monsters. And more than simply watch, we are taken in by these movies and we regard them as experientially real. We laugh, feel excitement. Sometimes we even cry. I think it's because we're all yearning to be part of a better story, one that can remove us from our regular lives and take us on a journey that is imbued with meaning, even if it's just for a few hours and even if it's fiction. For fiction lies to us in the most truthful manner. Stories carry information, a message or an idea that can psychologically impact you. It's the reason why our ancestors pretty much exclusively used storytelling as the way to pass down information and influence the behavior of generations across time. Stories are told because they have a narrative structure that follows the motive behavior and the psychological arc of a main character like you and I. So when we see the perspective of that main character, we relate to them and we want to emulate their behavior. In our stories, as in all stories, each and every one of us is on a journey from point A to point B, from what is a place that is insufficient in some manner to what should be a place that is somehow better. But along the way, we will inevitably meet the unexpected, the unknown. What do we do when we encounter the unexpected? Our ancestors, for centuries, constantly interacted with the unknown, and through their collective wisdom as human beings, represented the different ways to encounter the unexpected in their stories. And the only stories worth telling were those of our heroes. In telling stories about past heroes, our ancestors conveyed information that was crucial to tell us how to behave in the world and what pitfalls to avoid. There's a reason why Plato said, "All knowledge is remembering." He was referring to the wisdom that is eloquently woven into the oldest stories that we have. And when you take the oldest creation myths from different cultures at different times and you lay them over each other, a structure and a pattern emerges. In the most common story structure, you have a flawed protagonist that is in pursuit of a goal. Standing in their way lies a formidable opponent. The opponent lays unexpected obstacles in the path of the protagonist. And when the protagonist attempts to overcome the obstacles, they fail and plunge into chaos. For those of us in the startup space, that might sound like a regular work week. In their psychological chaos, the protagonist is at their lowest point. And that's usually when they get the help of an influencing character that helps them recognize and transcend their flaw. In doing so, the protagonist's old personality or self dies. Reborn, they are able to voluntarily confront their opponent. And in their resolution, the protagonist emerges with a lesson learned in which they return to share with everyone. To paraphrase the renowned psychologist Carl Jung, you're in a story whether you like it or not. If it's someone else's story, you might be getting a small part that you don't want. If you don't know that you're in a story, it might be one with a bad ending. So what's your story? What's your goal? What are your character flaws? If you don't know, you may be in trouble. Because like all protagonists in a story, you will encounter the unexpected. And when you do, you will plunge into chaos. Will you face your character flaws and face your dragon? After all, it's what we do when we're at our lowest point that matters the most. Our ancestors tell us that we must voluntarily approach our greatest fears, and only then can we embark on a journey that is imbued with meaning and move forward in life. And in that journey, we gain the lessons of life. We gain the new information necessary to help us update our culture and thrive. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Thank you. You had a really lovely speech, and it was very inspiring, but I don't understand what Open Screenplay does. What is it as an application, and what do you do when you get onto it?
Not a problem. We were told not to explain our products and talk about the lesson learned, so I'll take that opportunity right now. So Open Screenplay is a platform that breaks down story structure, that structure that I just conveyed to you, and helps you write a better story in addition to writing a compelling screenplay with the option of collaborating with storytellers from around the world. So what we've done is we've broken up a screenplay down into basic building blocks and associated an equity value for each screenplay. You can write the screenplay individually, or you can invite others to collaborate with you. And if their ideas are accepted into your screenplay, they can earn equity into your screenplay. You can also start a public screenplay that people can write collaboratively together, and that's decided by vote. And if your contribution is voted in, you earn equity into the screenplay. So if the screenplay is sold, you get paid. I like you.
You gave a great talk.
Oh,
stand up.
You.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
You gave a great talk. Thank
you.
you. Just wondering how you protect against copyright.
That's a fantastic question. Well, so our terms of use are written based on the Copyright Act of Canada, which clearly identifies that you are the copyright owner of your contributions. And if you write a screenplay together, you are the joint copyright owners of your contributions. So you can't see the screenplays until you enter the platform and accept the terms of use, which is a binding legal document that sets the legal landscape of the platform. So they're protected in that sense. And I mean, for us, if people are able to collaborate together and able to write screenplays together, we think that'll produce much better stories and encourage writers to write better screenplays. And once the screenplay moves past the writing stage and gets produced, there's an entire process that protects the rights of the screenwriters and the screenplay. So it's a regular industry standard, and all of the ideas written on our platform are time-stamped. So we know exactly when they were written. We know who wrote them. We have a lot of information that can protect the actual copyright owner, and we know who originated the idea.
One last question.
That was incredible. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
When it comes to the concept of collaboration on your platform, what's been the single largest challenge that you've had to face?
It's a very good question. So the public screenplay model, where you essentially start a screenplay and it's available for the public, for everyone to collaborate, was the biggest hypothesis that we came up with. Can people collaboratively write on screenplays together? And we came up with a process, and we came up with a system, and we actually did a prior art search in the patent in North America, and we found that no one had created a process like the one that we created, which allows, so every contribution that comes in is anonymous, so you can focus on the quality of the contribution. It's decided by vote in the public screenplays, and then we move on to different phases. So that has been the most challenging one to write. So we've come up, we've been testing this for about a year and a half, and we came up with many different features that allow you to go back and submit a new contribution for one that was previously voted in case the story arc doesn't make sense. So we've come up with tons of little features that allow the story to maintain its cohesion while it's going through along the process.